Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf DFS show. My name is Mike with Kyle and just Kyle tonight on Tuesday, October 3rd. Kyle, how are you doing?
Good. Coming live from another hotel room. I feel like that happens quite a bit. This time I'm in Texas. Nowhere cool.
This looks fancy. It's got the yellow accent wall, the green accent wall, some modern art. Looks nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. So to our discussion last week, it does not have carpet, so I enjoy that. It's
That is perfect. Go back, listeners, and listen to our Ryder Cup preview, and you'll know why that is important. We got our Ryder Cup recap, Sanderson Farms preview. Kyle, I want to start with a question unrelated to both of those topics. You're a diehard Cubs fan. Diehard? Are you diehard Cubs fan?
I'm pretty diehard, yes.
Pretty diehard. They've had some streaks. Some curses. What was it like when the curse was lifted?
It was amazing because I was in Chicago, even though the game was in Cleveland when they won Game 7. I was in Chicago for sales meetings, corporate meetings. Yeah, the next day was rough. That's all I'll say. At one point, one of the guys we were out with tried to get us to go to Wrigleyville, and don't get me wrong, that would have been awesome, but we were out by O'Hare, and we did not need to go to Wrigleyville at that point in the evening. It was amazing. I still have videos of it on my phone when they got the clinching out, and I watch it every now and then.
Well, Kyle, that sounds incredible. I actually witnessed the breaking of a streak tonight as well. If you see me donning my Twin Cities cap and my red Minnesota Twins shirt, I took my 5-year-old daughter down to the game this evening to watch them beat the Blue Jays in yes, Game 1 of the American League Wildcard Series, but 18 straight playoff games, 19 years. What a vibe.
19 years. Wow. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was so the Twins win 3-1 tonight, coming in hot, got the kids to bed, jump on to do a pod, but so I'm feeling amped up. It was just a scene. I took a couple of pictures of my daughter and I, like right when the scene erupted, when they won. I did not take any video. I don't regret that. I'm trying to be present in those times, and
no, that's fair. My video is of a TV in a bar. But it was great. Like the bartender stopped in the bar, sprayed champagne. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the Minnesota nice vibe, it didn't quite get to that. I kind of expected it. Like I kind of expected beer showers and just people going nuts. I couldn't find somebody to high five for about 5 seconds. But
other than my daughter, a wild card game. I know it's been a while, but we're talking about.
I know, and I told you what I paid for the tickets, right?
Yes, like $2.
Pretty close. I actually could have flipped them. I probably could have flipped them for about double the $14 I did pay right around game time. But to get in the door tomorrow is already $40. So
Fairweather fans in Minnesota are back. They're ready to go.
All right. Well, so I'm jazzed. I'm ready to talk about fall golf because that really jazzes me too. You said you got a beer, so I want to introduce the beers of the evening and then Ryder Cup takes.
All right. Well, I shouldn't have said where I was. I should have let this be the lead in. But I'm not super excited for this, but here I am in Texas from the cooler downstairs. And it's not very cold. Shiner Bock. Here we go.
How was there was a point in my life when Shiner Bock, where that was like I was cool because I was buying Shiner Bock. I was probably 23.
I wish it was cold. It was one of those like open top coolers that clearly just doesn't work that well. I should have got a bucket of ice and stuffed it in there for a little bit, but here we are. Not gonna do that now.
Shiner Bock. I have Landline, a New Zealand Pilsner with Rawaka hops from Blackstack.
Nice.
It's not quite as crisp as I was hoping. It's only 5%. I was just trying to have a refreshing drink this evening. Not quite as crisp. It was 86 degrees in Minneapolis today.
Yeah, it was warmer there than here.
Crazy.
I took a screenshot of that. I did have a good beer at dinner. equal parts Sigma IPA. So one good one lukewarm Shiner Bock.
I can't tell you the last time I drank a beer out of a bottle, though. Like, that's a bit of a novelty these days.
Yeah, I was like, well, kind of fun, Shiner Bock doing the pod. But now, unfortunately, I feel like the two beers I had there in comparison, that's is a synonym for something that happened this past week, Mike.
Okay, all right. Had about, I don't know, 48, 72 hours to digest what was the Ryder Cup. The storylines have been all over the place. The golf was fun to watch. Like, at the end of the day, it's never not fun. It's hard to see your team get kicked, but like, it was fun to watch. And then the media circus starts. So where's your head at? We can't possibly recap the whole thing. So kind of.
Yeah, I'm sure at this point everyone's heard the main talking points. Yeah, it was a great watch. I greatly enjoyed it overall. The Ryder Cup is awesome. I felt like I'll just highlight a couple main things and then I don't jump in wherever you would like. I feel like the turning point was Friday afternoon in the U.S. Granted, they had the awful Friday morning, but they let 2 half points hemorrhage away. Like they could have finished those, gotten 2 points out of that afternoon session, and I feel like things look a lot different. But that said, everyone, oh, it was over. It was a blowout. It wasn't close. There was definitely signs of life for bits on Sunday, and yeah, those last 3 matches. I don't think if they all mattered to the extent the last 2 or the last one or the last 2 really. I think things would have been a little different. Like if it didn't actually have to come down to that. Like overall though, US not playing for 4 weeks, I agree with that take. I think that was poor. I think outside of what JT played, Max played,
Yep.
and Brooks played in a fake exhibition event. But those 3 guys, the only ones that played, I think that was huge. I think Zach got way too much blame. I'm curious your takes there, and I have some points. But at the end of the day, Scotty can't go 0-2-2, and Xander can't go 1-3. Those are 2 top 6 golfers in the world by world rankings and the top golfer in the world. I don't care what your captain does. I don't care about the rest of it. Pairings, all that. Yes, that all matters. But Scotty 0-2-2, Xander 1-3. You're not gonna win.
I put the player blame to me goes squarely on Scotty on this one. Your stud, the guy's unflappable. The problem is he can't putt. And I know he putted like slightly better on Friday afternoon.
He actually made some putts.
He did show signs.
Yeah.
He showed signs. I know he's been working with a new coach. That you just can't. I know it's sometimes about who you play and your match play. You run into a buzzsaw. I get it. Like, but 0-2-2 over the course of 5 matches, you'd think at some point the world number 1 is going to do something, and it just goes to show that like sort of like the killer instinct, especially on the greens, is what matters in match play. And I can just think back to all the guys that have been absolute, assassins in the Ryder Cup, and they're guys that get it done on the green. So, kind of should have seen that coming. It's just you hope that that's not the result. Xander, we can talk about Xander separately. I don't. Certainly, you want more out of him, but it's Scotty's the one that takes the blame. Zach Johnson, though, I can excuse a lot of the blame on Zach Johnson until I started listening to some of his press conferences, and I was just kind of like, I'm not sure he has a clue. I think he kind of thought if I put and I know this is the take, I think he really did think if I put the buddies together, they can't lose. And he can't really back that up in front of a mic. And so I do think that there was like, he thought it was foolproof and it wasn't. And so I do think he's to blame.
Well, the thing with Zach is it's not a king. He's not making these decisions in a vacuum and only with his input.
No, but like,
yeah,
there are other people are exactly like him that are in the captain's room. Furyk, Couples, like they've all been doing this for so long. There's been no sort of like turnover in leadership.
Correct. So then that's not Zach's fault. That's the general process fault for Team USA, right? The one thing I will give you about Zach is like I can't see that guy being expiring in a locker room, like giving a rah-rah type speech. Like his interviews are crap. Don't get me wrong, but like I feel like he's getting way too much solely on his shoulders for the pairings, who went out when, the selections. Those were all consensus groupthink scenarios, and maybe that's the problem. To your point, maybe it is because it is groupthink. I mean, the only time I really had an issue with who was out when they were out was JT and Spieth doing both sessions on Saturday, especially because Spieth clearly did not have it for the week. And we'll get to JT too, but overall he was fine. Like he was just fine.
I'll read the quote from Zach Johnson, which I know Model Maniac Byron Lindeque tweeted out, and he's beside himself on the whole analytics thing. And yes, Eduardo Molinari like runs a golf analytics business. Like that is his post-golf career. And he's feeding all of that back into Team Europe, I'm sure pro bono, because that's his squad. But Zach Johnson says on analytics, I think analytics have been a part of what we've done for multiple cups, not any more or less this year. At some, you got to understand an average and mean and percentages and things of that nature that could potentially help. But it's not the bulk of it by any means.
That quote is awful. Yes.
Just like...
Yeah, yes. You said math terms that my first grader can also tell you.
So anyways,
the last thing about Zach, the freaking Spieth thing on 16 was so overblown. Like, okay, he didn't go up there and say, "Hey, driver," like, or "Don't hit driver." Like, that's not what happened. Somebody tweeted this, and I would almost bet is what happened was him just saying, "Hey, the Team Europe ball," what it was, McIntyre maybe, is on the green, but he has fringe between him and the hole, so that's not a guaranteed two putt. That is my guess. And then, or maybe like, hey, it's playing 307 today, whatever. And then he made the call. And then he turns to JT and said, "Do you agree with that?" Where his ball ended up, like, yes, he's going to have to go over fringe. He's going to have to chip, which he did, and I think that was only information. People just were looking for reasons to skewer him. People hated JT being on the team. People hated Burns being on the team. And they were just going to go after him however they could.
I kind of wish that, JT and Burns both had flashes during the week, and you got the stats in front of you. I don't. My guess is they probably performed to what's expected. I'm probably not disappointed in their performance. I probably wanted a little more out of them, but as far as like JT being the leader that I think people wanted him on the team for, I didn't have any problem with how he showed up.
Correct. He brought the fire. He got things going. He was the first one out there cheering for guys. He was the first one doing the hat shit with Cantlay. Yeah. For your 11th and 12th guys, which is essentially what they were fine. If Scotty doesn't go 2-2, Xander doesn't go 1-3, it's not a deal. Yeah.
Anything else you want to hit on? I got one other like take on like the stuff that's come out this week, but what else you got in Ryder Cup?
So you hit on this, but Stone Cold killers who can just kill it on the greens. Justin Rose, man, Stone Cold killer, number one with putter this week. Throwing 5 strokes putting in his matches. That's what you want at the Ryder Cup, and that's why, going back to Burns, that's why I'm perfectly okay with Burns being there, because he can be that guy on the greens. He can be. He's shown it in the past.
The problem was, and I think if you think about the pairings, and I said this earlier in the week, that I have no problem with the 12 golfers that are there. There are 20 golfers that have every right to be there, and you can only bring 12. So like, I'm not going to argue that like Keegan Bradley and Cameron Young, like those guys would have absolutely played better than the guys that were there. But when you take someone like Sam Burns and his volatility and his clear strength in putting, having him have to hit half the shots first out of the gate on Friday, felt like the wrong spot. It felt like the place to play him was in a 4-ball match with Scotty. And so that's where I just didn't really get some of that strategy. And that's where I go back to, was the point in the group think of like, well, they're buddies, they're going to play awesome. And I know it's not that simple, but
yeah, that's
those
fair.
are the head scratchers.
That's fair.
Other drama, you or me?
So, well, I want to say just shout out to Max Oma, freaking Stone Cold Killer. He's a freaking man. Are we doing X Cantley now? Is that over?
Well, yes, but like, I need you to like help me understand this. And I'm sure there's like, if I were to put this on Twitter, I'm sure people would come out and say, these guys are independent contractors and they should be getting paid for every hour they work. But like, at the end of the day, they make a lot of money. And I know we're going to say name, image, likeness, like someone is profiting off of their name, image, and likeness a lot more than they specifically are. But so is 99.9999999% of working America is working for somebody else. And I just, like, if you were to take the entire year's worth of work and the compensation, and I would say that feels about right. Like, I just don't understand why the Ryder Cup just generates so much drama about getting paid or not getting paid when the big picture is already so lucrative.
Correct. You're one of 24 golfers there. You are getting so many potential eyeballs, especially if you play well, right? So I completely agree with all that. My bigger issue with them isn't even around the paid piece. It's how they went about their business and the other bullshit they carried with them. Like, X and Cantlay didn't go on the scouting trip. The only other one that didn't go was Speeds because he was having a freaking baby. But like, just the atmosphere of being a part of that, you'd think it's got to you're an athlete. At the end of the day, yes, you want to be paid. It's your job, but you're an athlete, right? You're a paid performer and even an unpaid performer, but you still got to get some energy off of that. And just all the other shit, like even getting married the next day. Like,
yeah,
I don't care. Like, if you go into that competition and expect to win, why are you getting married the next day? Get married 2 days later. Like,
it was really
was he
strange.
not going to go out party with everyone? Like,
the only problem was he came out and balled out on Saturday, and so it's hard to say.
He did, but it's just I don't feel like it means as much. And like, go listen to No Laying Up Sunday. And yes, we do this every year after every Ryder Cup, the losing team, they need to change XYZ. Well, US hasn't won in Europe for how damn long? Ever.
A century.
Yeah. So that something needs to happen differently when you go over there. Either you need to find people that can thrive off it, do something in that atmosphere, but I don't think the thing to do different is getting married the day after the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, I don't at this point, like, a year ago we would have said, all right, Live Golf, take these guys. Like, that has all sort of fizzled into some extent, and I don't know if, I mean, maybe they will run off and play for Live, but like, I don't know. I just kind of want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm done.
All right. Well, it's a great event. It's fun to watch. It's going to be at Bethpage Black in 2 years. I'm sure the New York crowds will be insane when it comes to home field advantage. So I'm probably not making the trip out there, but it's going to be nuts.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, just last thought is it's just so fun to see the chip-ins, the aggressive putts, like guys drilling putts off the back of the hole. You don't see pro guys do that very often. It's just like when they can play aggressive and there's not recourse for where they're missing bad or stuff like that. It's just so much fun. Yeah.
Well, and that is the beauty of match play. If you can really harness whatever that is, the idea that your mistakes are minimized by the format, therefore you can be as aggressive as you want to be. You can have pure confidence in your swing. Like, my advice to anyone playing match play always is, if you can tell me what your score is at the end of the round, then you did not execute correctly mentally. Like, you should almost have no idea what you, I mean, kind of know if you're playing well or not, but like, you have no idea what your score is because you're so focused on beating your opponent on every single hole. And that's the only thing that matters. And clearly, like, clearly Europe's got their number in Europe. I don't need to say that anymore, but it's still fun. What's also fun, Kyle, is the Sanderson Farms Championship. It's a really fun event. You tuning in?
I'm sure I'll have it on a little bit. Mike, do you know what Sanderson Farms is?
Yeah, I had this question for you. I said, you want to take a bet on what Sanderson Farms is?
It's a chain of gas stations, isn't it?
Is it really? I would have said it was the private label produce at like Albertsons.
Oh, I don't know. Well, what is it? Like, we should know. I was gonna say I feel like it's chicken, but chicken.
That's because a chicken is the trophy. While you're looking,
it's American poultry producer.
Yeah, probably like a Tyson's. Jackson, Missouri. We're headed to Jackson, not Missouri, Jackson, Mississippi. Where past winner Mackenzie Hughes won here last year. Back to a full field event that's going to be headlined by Ludwig Aberg. Not to skip ahead to the DFS preview, but do you know what Tier 1 looks like?
No, I have not looked.
Eric Cole, Steven Yeager, Ludwig Aberg. That's your Tier 1 this week.
It's Aberg.
Yeah, Aubert, whatever they're saying. I get it. I get it. You've been watching a lot of European broadcasts recently, but this I like, and I know you and I like these fields. It's fun to see these guys play. It's fun to bet on them. But boy, it's going to be a while. It's probably going to be till the Hero before you see another top 20 golfer, really.
Hopefully we get some of the guys back that were battling injury at some point this fall. That's one thing I was looking forward to. Daniel Berger, our boy Willie Z. Can we see a little Willie Z action this fall, trying to bounce back?
That's a good question. Yeah, so full field event, top 65 in ties. Kyle, what do you know about the Country Club of Jackson?
Birdie Fest. So it kind of get fun to get back to that. With the first one back, you get to watch some nice scoring. And so you obviously want to look at birdies or better. Felt pretty heavily on the iron play. I do have to give a shout out to you on this, Mike. You said last year Mackenzie Hughes lost strokes off the tee.
I said that pre-pod, yes.
Yeah. So but I think it kind of comes down to a putting contest. Bermuda greens, and that's really the people that have won in the past have been hot with the putter.
All right. Well, that brings us to the model this week. So we haven't had our model. We didn't do our model for the Ryder Cup. We didn't put one out for the Fortnite. So we're back with the RTG model. What do you got?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of Ryder Cup hangover from folks, so we don't have quite the full inputs yet.
And but hopefully people get
in the fall swing. Yeah, fall golf. Hopefully we get full swing. But the two leading the way so far are Dylan Wu and Eric Cole. Vastly different price points there. Dylan at 7,600, Eric Cole at 10,300. They're both coming in at 55% mention share so far. But the MPI really likes Dylan Wu, so maybe a place to start your lineups is $7,600 because he is 78 on the MPI. Next, we have Steven Yeager, 10-4, as Mike mentioned, but 45% mention share. And then we got a whole gaggle of folks at 37%. I'm sure we'll mention some of those in the plays. So, what do you think, Mike?
All right. Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is that the two guys at the top are two guys that we talk about having perpetual pricing issues. Dylan Wu, who no matter how well he plays, how many cuts he makes, can't get out of the mid 7Ks and can't get out of the mid 7Ks even in a field like this. And I feel like we had the exact same conversation about Eric Cole the entire second half of the early part of the season, where he was perpetually priced between $7,400 and $7,800. and now for some reason I have to pay 10-3 for him? Like, what's going on?
Well, when I first saw this field, I scanned it on the PGA Tour comms tweet, looking through things, and he's actually one of the names. I was like, huh, he should be a good fit. I'm intrigued by Eric Cole this week. That was before I saw the pricing. 10-3 is a tough pill to swallow.
He did come out. He did finish fourth at the Fortinet, which I will say this is a little bit of like I hadn't pulled up tournament history on Data Golf yet. So in our model, I had to start labeling the fall swing as Fortinet 2, Sanderson 2, because of the way the PGA Tour season is working this year. I guess we'll just keep this fall swing mushed together with the previous season and then restart the metrics next year. Okay, this is inside talk. Data Golf is doing the same thing because Eric Cole finished fourth at the Fortinet number 2.
Oh, no.
So so clearly, like, this has got people kind of confused because we have multiple events technically in the same season. But so I guess he has a little bit of form there, but that's a lot to be paying when I feel like I have guys at the top of the model like a Dylan Wu, Alex Noren, Kevin Streelman, with I believe some course history here. I feel like there's going to be a ton of value this week.
There's some other guys that jump out to me too. I'm intrigued just talking about price points and the difference from where we saw people in the past. Alex Smalley was playing really good golf for a while last year. He's only 8,900. It feels like he should be priced more than Bo Hostler at 9,200 or even Doug Gim at 91. That doesn't feel quite right. And then looking back at performance last year, where's Mark Hubbard on the price point? He came in T5 last year at 13 under.
8,800.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe lineup construction is going to be interesting this week because I think you can take some swings at the top if you really do like an Eric Cole or a Ludwig. But I 10-9 to Ludwig coming off what he just did. That's going to be a tough click. But I think you can find some value and not even have to go to the 6s. Avoid those higher 8s and lower 9s.
I would avoid the 6s this week, although I've seen a couple that did pique my interest. I mean, all the way down to Joel Damon at 6,900. Like, just a ton of upside for a guy that's playing in a fairly mediocre field. I know he's been terrible. But 6,900 is tough. So he could be $6,900 in the PGA field.
Yeah, Kevin Kisner 6,500. Man, how the mighties have fallen.
Yeah. So I do think there's some really interesting pricing right now. But I guess if I'm to start, I'm clicking Dylan Wu at the top with all the love. Probably a cash play for me, but 7,600 probably going to garner a ton of ownership. But I like Dylan Wu. You make a good point about Eric Cole, especially as he maintains that form. And then I might look, like I said, I might look at a Streelman. He's at the bottom of our power index right now. But I'm kind of keen on value this week.
I'm trying the Jordan approach, slapping together a build live on the pod here real quick. I just want to see what we can do. So you can go Dylan Wu, Eric Cole, Alex Noren, who's getting plenty of love, Sam Ryder, who's at 8,500 and 36% mention share right now, Alex Smalley, and still cramming somebody at 6,900 if you wanted to go to like Mike highlighted and Joel there. So that's an interesting lineup overall. You know who? Did you scroll down far enough to see your boy Tommy Tables?
Yeah, Tommy Table's back playing golf again. That's exciting. I don't know. Tommy, maybe this is the kind of event that he needs to get himself into gear. He kind of fell off the face of the earth towards the end of last year. He's actually been playing. I mean, frankly, he's been playing in Europe this fall. The Irish Open, the BMW PGA Championship. I don't know if he's just looking for starts to kind of bridge the gap a little bit. He did play in the BMW, but he's been pretty quiet. Couple of good finishes though overseas.
I think Alex Smalley, I know he highlighted him, but I think he's going to play this week. He missed the cut at Wyndham and Genesis Scottish Open, 65th St. Jude, so he didn't finish the year strong. But T2 at John Deere, T9 at Travelers, hit, and he just tore it up on approach for a while there. So I'm hoping he can regain that form, and the events he plays well is because the putter doesn't suck. So I'll place there.
All right. Well, do you want to do a quick tiers preview?
Didn't we just talk about that? I didn't really look at tiers yet there, Mike.
Well, I mean, the toughest tier is tier 1 because it's just like who of Eric Cole, Steven Yeager, and then a Ryder Cup hungover Ludwig Oberg, Aubert, however you want me to say it.
Hey, bad!
God. I don't know how you're going to click there. I mean, the model would tell you, power index wise would tell you Ludwig, but he's almost going to be a good GPP play because of the price point and the fact that no one's going to want to touch it.
Yeah, I would go Eric Cole. I think
Probably.
he offers the highest floor. Yeah, Ludwig could win it, and he could WD. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, that is a good point. That is a good point.
I think tier 3 is fairly interesting. Just given this again, we go back to the price relative to the field, but you have Doug Gim in tier 2. But then you have Svensson, Smalley, Hubbard, Hoagie, guys that have been a better golfer over the last 2 years in tier 3. So you kind of got a lot of those guys together that didn't finish the end of the year strong. So just in general, kind of keeping an eye out for what we see from those guys. And I think right now I would look at Hubbard, as we talked about. Outside of one awful tournament to end the year, he was really, looking really strong for a while there. And then let's just hit on tier 5 real quick too. Alex Noren, he's only 7,800. That seems kind of low. And then Davis Riley, who didn't have a great year last year after he won in New Orleans, but he was a first round leader here last year, because I know that because I bet him, and he's only at 7,800 this week. And he's a Mississippi guy.
Yeah, I just think that 7K range is going to have so much in it that you might as well take a Cole or a Jaeger, get some safety in your lineup, and then just spread it out in the 7Ks, because I think he got a lot of upside. I was just keying in on Peter Quest, who, he flashed a little bit, but here's why he flashed. And I go back to what you said in the course preview. He gained about 5 strokes putting at the Wyndham, about 5 strokes putting at the 3M, 4 strokes at the John Deere, 4 at the Rocket Mortgage. When he's on, he is making putts. He's plenty long off the tee, tends to gain off the tee, and his approach around the green numbers are a little all over the place. But he's got a couple of real terrible weeks putting as well. So I think if you want a little bit of that putting volatility, maybe it's that pop week where he's going to gain 5-6 strokes on the greens. Peter Quest could be another guy in the 7K range, 7,400 to pop in there.
Why is Nicholas Lindheim $7,900?
That is a great question. Of course, we sometimes forget to look at what guys do overseas, but he's coming off a 37th, 23rd, 10th, 27th, a win on the court. He's playing Corn Ferry primarily, a win Corn Ferry back in July 3rd, 27th, 8th, 8th in his last 9 starts. So that's why. Been a machine on Corn Ferry.
Relative to, I don't know, like to Peter Quest, I would think he should be more.
Yeah, he is. I've seen his name. I don't see how much love we only got one mention. I think the one mention was from Brandon Gadula, one of our more trusted contributors. But Nicholas Lindheim, 7,900, could be someone worth looking at. Final thoughts on the Sanderson? I know not a ton here. We skipped the name game. We're going to probably save for the listeners that are loyal to the name game. We're going to save the name game to start in January with the official 24 season, so that we can get a new wager on the line for next season. But final thoughts? Are you going to bet on the Sanderson?
Probably not, just because I'm not going to be in a state that allows it or have the time to get to a state. So probably not. But as I said here, if I do get the opportunity, Alex Smalley. Alex Smalley is where I go. No, it's let's get back into golf. It was nice to have a little breather, get the Ryder Cup to get the juices flowing again, and I'm looking forward to it. I get to play a little golf on Friday. I'm looking forward to that, even though it's going to be cold and rainy after it's been 90 for a week straight. So let's go.
Yeah, you're asking for advice on rain suits, and my advice is just don't invest in one because, just don't play golf in the rain, or suck it up and get wet.
I'm playing 36 holes on Friday.
We have 3 weeks to preview this, but the last weekend in October, I will be headed to Pinehurst. So 3 weeks to preview it. I got to get my itinerary done, but yeah, small group, going with my dad, a couple other people, but should be good. Should be a good time. I probably might not play golf until then, but I'm looking forward to it.
You need to sneak something in, get a couple swings, and after a cold weekend, it should bounce back next week. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did play the par 3 here in town last Sunday. I took my 3-year-old out, and this is not like a parent brag or anything. It's more of just like I'm just surprised, shocked, confused by what's happening. I mean, he played all 9 holes tee to hole. I mean, it might have been 15, 20 strokes on each hole, but for some reason, it's like golf and his attention. He just puts the ball down and he hits it until it goes in.
And what was the other caveat of that round? You said you played like somebody that's really cool.
I texted you my round that I played on Saturday. I played 9 holes with my wife on Saturday. And, I shot 3 under on 9 holes, and then I probably shot 45 at the par 3.
Yeah, you said you played like Kyle. I think I could have beat you.
I know. I didn't say I played like Kyle. I said I played like Kyle could have beat me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. Good point.
All right. Well, that's the Sanderson Farms preview in the books. You can find our content on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. All episodes out on YouTube Wednesday mornings, as well as any major podcast platform. We'll be back in a week to talk about the results of the Sanderson Farms and preview the Shriners Children's Open. See ya.